is going on? Governor Chisgule here, and today we're going to update our epic tier list with our ratings for Sunset Canyon, and this does change things. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. For those of you that have been following along, we release tier lists for epic and legendary commanders on a regular basis. We'll put some cards up in the top if you want to see our old videos about those tier lists. Now, when we make a tier list, we rank every commander on a letter grading scale, and we'll flash that scale up on the screen. Now, before we go any further, if you like commander guides and reviews, then please do like and subscribe to the channel so that you can get those updates regularly, and that also helps me a lot as a content creator. Let's get right into the epic tier list updates that have Sunset Canyon included. Now, we haven't touched the rest of the epic tier list. We'll flash that at the end of the video so you can see the whole thing, and the overall ratings have changed, but all of the different categories that we rank on for these epic commanders have not. Those categories, in case you want to check out the other video, includes city defense, barbarians and forts, open field, rallying cities, rallying objectives, and defending objectives. Now, in this video, we're going to hone in solely on Sunset Canyon, and let's give you the reviews from worst to best. Now, at the epic tier, we think the very worst commander you can bring to the party is going to be Lohar. And I know that many of you knew this, but let me tell you, it's tempting in the early game to bring your Lohar because he's the highest leveled up commander you have. And to some extent, that's not a terrible choice for the first 30 to 90 days in which you're playing Rise of Kingdoms. However, after you pass the 30 to 90 day mark, if you're still using Lohar, you should really consider whether or not there are some other choices you should use, because spoiler alert, there probably are, and you probably don't have that many more levels on Lohar for it to be worth it. Coming in, still at the bottom of the list, we've got three commanders that tied. I give these commanders a C+. Now, Lohar I gave an F, okay? So, worst commander you can use in the game that's epic or legendary. I suppose you could use a blue or a green commander. That would be worse. Tied for a C+ includes Herman. Now, when we talk about Herman, the reason that I just don't love this commander for this game mode is that he's got some amount of his itemization into March speed. Yes, he is got a little bit of a rage engine, so he is generating a little bit of rage, but the silence, I think, is more often than not just not going to be all that effective here. You'd rather have damage or utility or the other stuff that a commander like Boudicca offers. So I gave this commander a C+. I do think that archers are also pretty vulnerable given the cavalry-heavy meta in Sunset Canyon. In addition, I also gave Boudicca a C+. And I'll be honest, in the early game, she is a very strong commander to be using in Canyon. She is versatile. She doesn't care as much about the type of troop you're bringing. But the downside to Boudicca is that she doesn't really work as a primary commander. After a certain level, she really doesn't have a lot of meaningful talent points that you could use. This is an open field Boudicca build, but the talents in the integration tree are just not very exciting. So she will be much better in the early game of Rise of Kingdoms, but that effectiveness will start to fall off once you hit level 50 plus, when there are commanders that have more meaningful talents to bring to the party. The other commander that we gave a C+, and as I say that out loud, I think I'm underrating them. I think I am underrating them, and that is Olgimundak. Olgimundak we gave a C+, and it's entirely possible that I will go edit the list and drop this in as a B-. In fact, I will. The reason I give him this rating is that, in Canyon, the thing that does so well is area of effect damage. He doesn't have that, but he does have a debuff that will make the target take more damage, and I do like that. He also does really well tanking because whenever he's attacked, there's a chance he's going to get a damage boost, and he does go all in on the infantry stats, which actually is really good. So I'm going to give him a B-. He just got insta-upgraded in our tier list. Now the next tier of commanders are actually all rated at a B. They're all rated at a B, which is a pretty solid rating for an epic. Each has some pros and cons. Let's walk through those. The first up is going to be Scipio. Now, Scipio really loses a lot of his strength in Rise of Kingdoms toward the mid to end game. Card up in the top if you want to see my video fully explaining that. Is Scipio good in 2020? With that said, he is very, very tanky. If you use him as a secondary to a commander that generates a lot of rage, like a Joan of Arc, or even a Boudicca primary, that's maybe even suboptimal, actually. But secondary to a Joan of Arc, I think, is actually a really solid choice. He does let you bring more troops, which is also really good, and he will fulfill that tanking role. You'll see him a lot in the early game of Rise of Kingdoms, and then he sort of falls out of favor, but for that early game role, I think he's good. I gave him a B. In a similar vein, I gave Belisarius a B rating. This is a commander that is actually really good in this game mode for dealing a lot of damage. That is because there is an attack reduction, there is a defense reduction, and there's some damage factor here. But in addition to all those debuffs, which are very good, this over here is deceptively good, and I've actually misread this in the past, but when the target has been reduced to less than 50% strength, increase your own damage dealt by 25%. 25% damage boost is really huge. I've seen people pair this commander with Minamoto, and it's honestly very effective. Put him in the back line, do a lot of DPS. I think this is a solid pairing worthy of consideration, and I gave it a B. Up next as a B is Baibars. This commander is so close to being higher rated than that. The reason that I gave them a B is because they do area of effect damage. They can hit multiple targets. This is very, very, very powerful in Canyon. It is exactly what you want. The reason I didn't give him a better rating is that the third skill is completely irrelevant and the fourth skill is completely irrelevant. So this commander could have been so much better. Instantly, if these skills were relevant, even just one of them, they would have bumped up significantly. Put that 25% damage boost that you saw on Baibars, or rather on Belisarius, over here, and yeah, this commander will be nuts. But we're going to leave him at a B for now, and I think that's a fair rating. The last commander that we have at a B is Pelagius. Now, this commander is very, very well-rounded. They do healing, they do damage, they give you rage gen, they got a lot of stats. Nothing is wasted on march speed for this mode. However, they only do single target damage, and for that reason, we've constrained them to a B. If they had AoE damage, they would be very, very powerful, and would probably jump up a whole letter grade. Now, on the topic of jumping up letter grades, we are almost there. There's two commanders at the B plus range that we need to talk about. The first commander at the B plus range that we need to talk about is Osman. This commander is actually deceptively good for this game mode. He does, however, have a strict requirement. That strict requirement is you pair him with a commander that's going to generate rage. Whether it's Pelagius or Boudicca, somebody that is going to give as much rage as possible is the pairing, and the reason is that this third skill is going to make it so every time you use a skill, and every round of skills, by the way, the active skill of the primary commander and the secondary commander fire off. So that means this goes off twice. Sword of Osman will go off twice every time you have active skills. This is very powerful. It's like an extra 800 damage factor in total. He also lets you bring more troops, which is really very powerful in Canyon. Use this commander in a DPS configuration. Even with a Sun Tzu, this would be busted good. Yeah, Osman is strong. He earns his B+. Another B+ commander that you might not have expected is Kusunoki. Kusunoki does work in this game mode, a shocking amount of work. The AoE damage is very, very powerful in this game mode. He also does extra single target damage, which is very powerful, and offers a huge amount of stats, which is also very good. Pretty much everything Kusunoki is doing is really strong here, and I've seen him used to great effect in this game mode, even at the highest tiers of play, and maybe not, today now that we've got Guan and Leonidas, but before Guan and Leonidas entered the scene, there were people at the, top 10 of our Canyon lists that were using this commander, and the rest were, legendaries, except for a few of the ones that rate a little bit higher, and we do only have two commanders left, so spoiler alert, those are the ones that we were seeing and still see in the highest tiers of play. Let's talk about those two epic commanders that are very good. The first commander that we've got to talk about, and I rated them as an A, is Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu, I mean, he does basically everything. He's the best epic in the game, and it's not even close. The thing that he's doing that is just so busted good is AoE damage, so he can hit up to 5 targets. Usually that means 2 or 3. He generates extra rage when that happens. He makes it so you take less damage, which is huge. He makes it so that you deal more damage, which is huge. I mean, this commander is good, and lots of top-tier players in Canyon still use him. The very best commander for Canyon, it is no surprise, is going to be Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc's first skill is just too powerful. She's better than a legendary for this game mode. I've got plenty of legendaries I could use, and I feel like I have to use Joan of Arc because this buff is so good. What does it do that's so good? When you've got her expertise, it is going to give you 30% infantry health, and 30% cavalry defense, and 30% archer attack for 4 seconds. That's a very long time. And you get 50 rage per second, so 200 rage total over those 4 seconds. This commander is very good. She's got some healing, which is amazing. This skill, increasing normal attack damage, is totally fine. This was nerfed a very long time ago to be what it is today. And honestly, she's still really good. She might be better than Sun Tzu if they hadn't changed this skill. But, that's all water under the bridge. She's still crazy good. The literal very best for Canyon. We gave her an A+, which does compete with legendaries. And it's entirely possible she should be an S-. One of the only areas in Rise of Kingdoms where we are even considering giving an epic an S-tier rating, just for perspective. So now we're going to flash up on the screen all of those Sunset Canyon ratings for your viewing pleasure, and we will put the overall rating onto the screen and show how this has changed our perspective on the overall rating for epic commanders. The overall rating for Sun Tzu remains unchanged at an A-, but now Joan of Arc is really bumped up substantially in my tier list. She's always been this good, but now we have a way of representing it on the tier list that makes a bunch of sense. She's now a B, and she was sitting around a C, because really the thing that she was good for is open field buffing of allies. We also bumped up slightly Osman in our ratings. Canyon is a great game mode for him, and we felt that the overall rating needed to reflect that. Now it does. He's still not as good, in my opinion, overall for most players as Baibars and Boudicca, and that is really because Baibars and Boudicca are so useful in battling barbarians. If you set that aside, Osman is the better commander among those 3 that we're talking about. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see the whole tier list, we'll have a link in the description. It's always there. You can go see when we make these updates. As soon as they happen, you can watch them live, which is kind of cool. And in addition, if you could like and subscribe if you found this video helpful, let me know, and drop a comment down below. What do you think of these ratings? Are they fair? Do you think that some of the other ratings on this sheet should change? We flashed up on the screen, and I guess we'll do that again. The entire set of ratings that we have for these commanders, it's possible that some tweaking is in order here, and if they put new epic commanders into the game, we will definitely go back and refine this list further, and maybe I should say when they put new epic commanders into the game, because I would be shocked if they didn't do that. like, and subscribe. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.